Hello, welcome to 6 and 6 NBA preview, the Southwest Division. So yeah, we're gonna have a nice fun time today. We're gonna be talking about the Southwest, the home of the Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks, which I believe that's what we're starting with. That's the first team we'll be starting with. But should be an interesting division overall. Um, you got the three Texas teams. I do believe like teams like the Spurs, surprisingly are will probably be more of I think a sleeper, at least for me. I like some of what they've done. Rockets are loaded. If you look at them, like even past their 10th man, they got a roster. They do. They're fully loaded team. Young, mostly young, but I do like their roster overall. And then you got um, New Orleans, which at some point something's got to give because I like them, but at the same time, it's like they keep disappointing me. Um, and who's the last one
In that division, so
in
you
that
got
division? I think it was Memphis. Memphis, the return of the Memphis
Memphis.
Grizzlies, the completely injured Memphis Grizzlies. So if you could bring up that Dallas Mavericks card, please.
I was not sent the stuff.
It's on the
Oh
thing.
shoot, that's my fault. That's my fault, Joel. Hold on, give me a second. That's my fault.
It's okay.
Just keep talking. Keep talking about
Technical
Joel.
difficulties.
Dallas Mavericks is the first, right?
They are
Yeah.
the first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just keep talking. I'm gonna send it to Didge now.
okay. Yeah, I got them all on the same uh, spread, whatever presentation. So either way, well, we start with Dallas. So I could do this blind. Watch this shit. Ready?
Let,
So,
let's let's hear it.
all right. So my projected starters for the Dallas Mavericks, as of right now, Luka Doncic, if you didn't figure that one out, and Kyrie Irving, probably the best offensive backcourt in the league. They'll be back starting in the backcourt again. Except this time they'll be here with a new addition. Um, Clay Thompson will be joining them. The return of PJ Washington also joining him at forward. And then at center, I believe they said they were going to lean towards Derek Lively this year over, um, what's his name? Daniel Gafford. Not to say that they won't use Gafford, but I think Derek Lively will be the main center, at least for now. He is younger, higher upside. I don't blame them at all. So,
That's fair.
in that regard, I I, that's a good choice. So that should be the starting five. Again, these are my projections. This is just my opinion. This could change overnight because you got training camp coming. A lot of things can change. Um, this doesn't seem like it'll change overall. At most, maybe center they'll play with again. If Derek Lively doesn't do what he needs to do, they'll probably go back to Gafford. I could see that happening. But aside from that, I don't see it, the rest of that starting line unless Clay Thompson has another like of a bust of a season, which I'm not looking forward to saying that's going to happen. But I'm just saying it's out there.
It's not outside the realm of
It,
possibility.
I mean, he's not the Clay of old, and I think he's coming back to try to show that he is. But we'll see about that. Anyway,
Let me know if you got it, Didge.
Where are you sending it
I
via?
sent it to you.
Oh, I see it in Discord. I see it.
yeah, should be there. Anyway, let's go over that bench real quick. Anyway, you got a couple additions on the bench. They're not a bad bench. They added some nice players. I will get to that a little bit later. But right now, the depth for them, you got like I mentioned earlier, you got Daniel Gafford, Maxi Kleber, who they really like, Najee Marshall, who they added, Quentin Grimes, who they added. We know him very well. Jaden Hardy, who they really like, young guard. Um, that'll probably be. Oh, something happened there. I don't know what happened there.
What happened?
That's off center for some reason.
It's off
Oh, the
center.
Quentin Grimes thing. Yeah,
Quentin
it's
Grimes
alright.
and then Hardy, they're off center. I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
It's alright. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Joel. Sorry.
Anyway, no, I was saying that's their depth. Key losses, obviously.
What just happened? Why did it go away?
I don't know. I didn't hit anything.
What is going on right now?
You know, I think it was me. Let me change it to entire screen.
Anyway,
And then my hands are off. Okay.
here we go. Anyway, key losses. Derek Jones Jr. They lost Derek. He's now in Golden State. I want to say. No, he's in. Damn, where'd he go? Oh, LA. He's with the Clippers. Josh Green in Charlotte. Tim Hardaway Jr. is now in Detroit. Good luck there, buddy. So those are big losses for that. I mean, Derek Jones was a starter. Josh Green was a very big key rotational player. Tim Hardaway was a six-man for them for a long time. So, I mean, overall, in his career with Dallas, it's a miss for them. They're going to miss him. Key additions, obviously, we just mentioned Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes. The big one, obviously, is Klay. Najee, nice bench depth, was actually a big part of New Orleans for a long time off the bench. And Quentin Grimes has the potential to do something as a two-way guy, as a former Knick, former Piston. I like Quentin Grimes a lot, and I know that they really like him. That's why they went down and get him. So Dallas should be a threat again. If anything, they got probably a little better because I think they added some better depth pieces. And if they can stay healthy, they have for themselves a squad. So, Juwaan, let's start it up, buddy. What do you think?
See, Klay Thompson, I think, is going to thrive here because this team, I don't think they'll need him to be what he was in Golden State. They won't need him to be one of the best defenders. They just need him to knock down shots. That was where it started to get bone dry for them. Because think about it. You can make an argument outside of Kyrie and Luka. Tim Hardaway should have been their best three-point shooter, right? He was benched a lot. That's a problem, right? So shooting seemed to be something you needed to help fix. I will say, you remember how, Joel, a lot of people said trying to put Brunson with Donovan Mitchell was a problem defensively? Mm-hmm. Well, if Klay is not Klay, the Klay of old, Klay next to Kyrie Irving is terrifying.
Criminal.
So
should be good.
That's where your problem is going to be, is that Klay cannot lock up your best player anymore. That's not who he is. And that's not because he lost the talent. It's that a lot of defending is shuffling your legs. A lot of his injuries were on his legs. So it's like, he's just not the same. It's not the same quickness, the lateral movement, stuff like that. So, but I think if he can just bring the leadership, the veteran, being the vet now, you're the vet guy, right? You're not the guy that can hold up the four fingers to Devin Booker and say, I'm better than you. You're the guy
he's going to do that anyway.
He is. And, again, he has the rings to do it, but you don't have now the talent to back it. Now you just sound like an old guy throwing numbers in the air. But for me, I think this team, they didn't really lose the heart of what they were. I look at Derek Jones Jr. as like an energizer guy, right? Like he's a guy that can get up, give you the explosive dunks and whatnot. Josh Green is a solid piece, but you have to look at Tim Hardaway as a guy that just fell out of rotation. Okay. And he's not a bad player. I just think he wasn't helping with what they needed to do. So you replace that with Quentin Grimes. I think Quentin Grimes is an immense upgrade from Tim Hardaway Jr. as far as fitting with this system. Because Quentin Grimes will guard. He will defend. And you can play him at the three. So there are times where if Klay is not getting it, you can put in Quentin Grimes, and it will be an upgrade defensively to help Kyrie Irving. Now, Quentin Grimes, as us New York Knicks fans know, was starting to grow defensively. But Quentin Grimes was never at a point where we were like, your best player, meet Quentin Grimes. Like, no. But I do remember Quentin Grimes was putting clamps on Jimmy Butler that one year in the playoffs. So he has the ability to be a really good ball stopper, defensively.
Potential for sure.
So I don't think this team lost anything that we have to look at it and say, ugh. But I will say, I hope that this team has draft picks, because when we were talking about a certain big man in Portland, this is the team that has been searching for a big since Tyson Chandler left. They have not had a proper big since Tyson Chandler left. And they've been searching for it for forever.
They've been like forcing Dwight Powell down.
I know, exactly. So I could see this team being this team should look into Utah, see if they can get Keller, right? So I just think this team's biggest problem will be not having a proper big man. They don't even need a big man that can stretch the floor. You just need a big man that can rebound and defend well. So he can, because Didge, I think you pointed this out a lot. We saw Luka get ran past a lot in the NBA Finals, like a lot. So you know what they didn't have? A cleanup guy. And for any successful championship team, you need a cleanup guy, somebody that can go, all right, let me stay around the hoop because Luka ain't going to guard Jason Tatum. And when he goes to drive, can't let it be an open lane, right? So you just need someone that can at least be there, right? So I think they'll get lucky if you can get someone like DeAndre Ayton that can score also, on top of being a body in the paint. But I think this team will be fine. I think they'll be in the mix of it, same as they were last year. I think they'll be top 5. But I do not think this team can win a championship without a proper big. And I think that's where they lack because they did not get better defensively. And that was their biggest issue in the NBA Finals was that you could not defend a soul. I think if Drew Holiday wanted to get 30 a game, he could have. Honestly. And that's no disrespect to Drew Holiday. That boy is a baller, but he's not a scorer.
Right.
But that's how bad Dallas played defense is that he could have been if he wanted to be. So I think that's the biggest issue, Joel, for Dallas going forward is you need a big. You need a proper big. And until they fix that, I think they only go as far as Luka can take them. And we've seen Luka could take you to the finals. That's about it. So
I mean, for a lot of teams, getting to the finals is
a lot. 100%.
It's a lot. You know?
When you look at Luka as being one of those transcendent players, it's not enough to just get to the finals. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to be that time where you got – because remember, I think Luka's been in the league only, 2 to 3 years less than Jason Tatum, and we were putting a clock on Tatum.
Let's see. Luka's first year was 2019. Tatum's first year was 2018.
Okay, so not even. So, yeah, so if we were putting the clock on Tatum, I think it's time to start putting the clock on Luka. He's a transcendent player. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I don't think we would have given Tatum we would have accepted it if Tatum just got him there. You got to win it too. Now, I won't argue, Didge, that Tatum didn't win them shit. Brown did. But he was on the team at least, right? So,
yeah, I get what you mean. It's interesting.
Go ahead. No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I didn't want to cut you off or anything. No, it's interesting with that because I do feel like sometimes NBA fans put too much of a clock on players. For as much as a transcendent player can take you to the promised land, it is still a team game, obviously. Like, you know, if we're talking, even if we go as far back as Jordan in the 80s, there was a reason why. Oh, to answer this question, sorry, there are 6 divisions.
Yes.
So we are halfway through. This is the end of our Western Conference.
Exactly, yes.
And then we'll be starting with the East next week. But yeah, like I was saying, even if you go back to Jordan in the 80s, there was a reason why until that team got put around him, they had their stopping part at Detroit. You know, if you look at where LA was when after they lost Shaq and before they got Powell and they rebuilt that team around Kobe again, there was a reason why Kobe had those years where it was like, yo, maybe we needed other people. You know, there was a reason why LeBron, obviously he went to Miami, but there was a reason why they had a ceiling in Cleveland. It's because you can have these players, and I chose those 3 for a specific reason. All 3 of those players are transcendent players. Arguably your top 3. You know, somebody may have whatever order, I don't really care, but those are your top 3 most likely. And even still, they needed a team around them to sort of go to that next level. And like I said, go ahead.
Do you feel like with Jordan, with LeBron, and with Kobe, you could never say LeBron, Jordan, or Kobe was the reason they couldn't get over the hump? It was just they were on teams that didn't match their level, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly my point.
Do you think Luka's the same? Because I could argue a couple of playoff series over Luka's career, he's just kind of tailed off a little bit. This is the first year where he kicked it up and then had a running mate that kicked it a step higher. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever felt that like maybe Luka at certain points the stage is maybe too big for him?
I think he has the potential, but I feel like a lot of NBA fans look at it as, and that's why I think they're starting to give him the, oh, you need to win it this year, or you need to win it next year, because they are giving him that, they give it to every superstar now, I guess is my point. Right. Whereas it was only previous years given to those players who are like stars amongst stars,
right.
And so I think it's just the evolution in the way that we talk about basketball, whether it's better for the game, whether it's worse. I'm not here to debate it. But looking specifically at the Mavericks, I don't know what their ceiling is. Like I spoke a lot last week, telling where I think these teams' ceilings are. And the reason I say that is the Tim Hardaway Jr. loss. If we're talking regular season Tim Hardaway Jr., that's a pretty significant loss.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're talking playoff Tim Hardaway Jr., the man wasn't there basically anyway. Right? The drop-off was insane. So while you guys were both saying that you think that this team takes them as far as Luka can take them, I think it's the opposite. Luka's going to take them at least to the playoffs. We know that for sure. We've talked for now 3 weeks about how the West is loaded. So even if they lose second round or conference finals, I can't 100% say like, oh, they failed because the West is loaded. We know every team got. I won't say every team got significantly better, but a lot of teams got significantly better. And I don't know if the trade-off, I'm just using it for example, because of Tim Hardaway to Klay Thompson, is something that made them significantly better or worse. They're kind of like a question mark to me. Was it a flash in the pan last year or what?
No. Yeah, no, I don't think I disagree with you at all. I think you're saying it's not as far as Luka takes him, it's as far as the team takes him, because Luka can get you to where you need to go, but the team needs to step up for you to actually win it. I completely agree. I will say, Didge, my disappointment in Luka will come down to who they lose to. You lose,
but I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say you say who they lose to, but if they go to the conference finals and they lose to a Oklahoma City or a Minnesota or a Sacramento, I'm not sure, or even a Phoenix. Hell, if you lose to what are we?
That's my point. I don't have any issues in that. You lose to those teams, I don't have any issues to that. If you lose to the Spurs, that's a problem. Well, no. Again, we know. I think we can all agree we put Denver in we put them in a side category as a team that wouldn't surprise me if they went back to the finals, and a team that wouldn't surprise me if they're out in the first or second round, right? Because of how loaded we think the West is.
Right.
I'm talking like if the Spurs surprise us this year, they're really good, and they beat the Dallas Mavericks. That to me is unacceptable.
Okay.
On any level, you can't lose to the Spurs. I don't care if Wemby turns into prime Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron wrapped in one. You find a way to out Goku that motherfucker. I'm sorry. You just have to, right? Those can't be the series you lose. But if we're talking the top 4 teams that we think will be ahead of them and them being in that top 5, of course, no. Those are the teams we think are going to battle it for that final spot. Just like I wouldn't think any less of OKC if they lost to Minnesota or if Minnesota lost to Denver. But it's the teams outside of that top 5 that you can't lose to. And I'm not saying it like I think they will, but I'm saying that's the caveat. You can't let those teams beat you. And we know, because every year it happens, teams build up for a specific team and then don't get to that team or beat that team earlier than expected. And now they're just sitting there like, oh, damn, we built ourselves for this, but now we're playing this, and we have no answer for this. You know what I'm
definitely understand that.
So that's all I'm saying. But again, I'm not saying if Luka doesn't win a championship this year that he's not still on a trajectory to being an all-time great. I'm just saying we do need to start looking at Luka the same way we were looking at Tatum. It doesn't have to be this year, but he does need to be on the clock. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying if it's not this year, it's coming, because if you were drafted only a year after Tatum and we put Tatum on that clock, I don't know how much longer we can avoid putting you there.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's always interesting to me when people are like, oh, X, Y, and Z all have that clock. They better win it this year. And it's like, well, you picked 3 people on 3 different teams. They can't all win it this year. You can't say they all better win it this year.
Like, right. Luka to me, I put on that level because Shea, I don't think is better than Luka. Anthony Edwards, I think you can argue Anthony Edwards might be a better pure scorer than Luka, but he's not a better all-around basketball player than Luka Doncic.
Fair. That's fair.
So, I mean, because you know what it is, Didge? I look at Luka and Anthony Edwards like Kobe and LeBron. I think at any given point, LeBron is a overall better basketball player on all levels. But LeBron can't score like Kobe Bryant can score. It's just so easy for Kobe, right?
Yeah.
And now that might be unfair to LeBron because I think if LeBron ever wanted to, he could average 40 a game, right? It's just not who he is.
Right.
So I look at Luka like that. Luka could average 50 a game. Right, but he gives you assists, he gives you rebounds. Anthony Edwards, I think the only edge I give him is he's a pure scorer, and he plays defense. That's it. That's
I was gonna say, at least he has the ability to defend.
Yeah,
right.
Whereas Luka, I don't, not that he doesn't have it. I don't know if he cares enough.
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
And I don't think that organization is in any position to tell him to play defense. So
he is everything.
Your team to support him. It's really all you can do.
That's it.
That's really it. But yeah, I don't think this team is lost enough for me to think that they'll take a tremendous step backwards. So I think it'll have less to do with this team's additions and more to do with other teams' additions. So it's less about how this team improved and more about did someone else improve more.
Yeah, I get that.
To me,
next team is that where?
Yeah, we're gonna go now. Just let me.
Yep, finish out.
I just do think that their additions are enough to keep them either where they were, or maybe even a little better.
Where did they finish?
But see, so that's you say a little better from where they were last year's
championship. I mean record. So like a little better. I mean, they could probably end up in the same spot with they didn't lose anything. Is my thing. So like now they have to live up to the other teams that possibly got better. You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to.
Fair. Yeah, I get what you mean then.
I'll even say this, Didge, to close this out. I get what you're saying about Tim Hardaway Jr., but I believe Klay Thompson and Quentin Grimes is enough to easily make up for what you're losing in Tim Hardaway Jr. Combined, I think they're easily. I don't want to put that pressure on Klay. That's what I'm saying.
I just think because right now he was the second option in Golden State. Right now he'll be the third option. But
it depends on what Klay you're getting. That's what like Quentin Grimes. I'll give you that. Like that might be enough. The only reason I picked on Klay in that situation is because you had Klay in the starting lineup and your projected starters.
Right.
You don't think he is?
I'm not saying whether or not he is or not. I'm saying it's going. I can't on paper say Klay is 100% a addition from Tim Hardaway Jr. because what Klay are we getting? Yeah. If we're getting that Klay towards the end of last year, I don't know. That's Tim Hardaway Jr. again, and he's just light skinned now.
I'll say this, Didge. If Klay Thompson during the regular season can get you 15 points per game, and Quentin Grimes off the bench can get you 11 to 12, which he possibly could, I think you're fine.
Let's not say about Najee Marshall. He's pretty good.
No.
Bench piece right there. He could two.
No, I'm only saying that, Joel.
Pretty good.
No, it has nothing to do with him. I'm only saying that because Klay is a starting 3, and I think Grimes will come off the bench as a 3. So I'm saying that position alone, I think, can allocate replacing what you're losing from Tim.
Yeah, he'll play 2-3. So will Najee. Najee can play 2 through 4. So.
Right, yeah, it's no disrespect to Najee. It's just I think Klay and Quentin Grimes is enough to replace Tim Hardaway Jr. That's all I'm saying.
I think just Klay, but yeah, I understand.
And that's fair. Regular season is different. We saw Tim Hardaway Jr. disappear in the playoffs.
Right.
So
for sure.
I think Didge will be easier because Klay is not first or second option ever. Right. He will only be get the scraps that Kyrie and Luka leave for you.
You get the open shots because they're going to double and you just make your threes. And if he's Klay, that shouldn't be a problem.
And you know what? We've seen Klay in this position. Remember, he was a third option to Durant and Curry.
Yes.
right? And he not thrive like he had 30, 40 points per game, but he fit that position perfectly because we never saw Klay Thompson as better than Steph. So we've always looked at him as the other guy, right? Not the guy, the other guy.
He's also not an on-ball guy. Like, he doesn't have to have the ball in his hands to be effective.
Never has a dribble a ball.
Right.
We've seen it.
Don't get me wrong, because honestly, if you look at his season overall last year, it wasn't a crazy dip.
His numbers are better than the way he looks some games. I'll say that.
I think that's what it is. Like, obviously, they, Golden State plays on the West Coast. Their games are usually late. So early in the season, I wasn't actively watching. Late at night, I'm ready to go to bed. But then, as it gets closer to playoff times, you start looking at more teams than you think, and then you start seeing like, yo, these numbers ain't telling the whole story. And when you watched Klay, you were kind of like, all right, these numbers ain't telling the whole story, because the reason you getting these is because you jacking up some shots.
Yeah.
Like,
it's all confidence. That's all to me. Because the reason it's weird for us is we're not used to seeing him play as bad as he has. Like, there are games he had. I forgot what game it was, where he missed. I think it was over 10 or some shit like that. It was like he could not make a shot. Now,
that was the play-in game, wasn't it?
Was it? Because that was bad.
It was really bad. I tell you what, to Didge's point, he ended the season horribly. He ended the season so bad, Golden State might have been better off pulling a Tim Hardaway Jr. and just benching him.
Throughout the season, there were moments where he did get benched.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, he did get benched several times in Golden State. It did happen. I'm like, it's weird and it's awkward, but it happened. And he was cold. They needed a boost, and I get it. And look, it might happen again, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway.
I would definitely think we need to look at this for what it is. It was more desperation on Dallas's side, more so than it was signing a hot commodity, right?
Because if it works,
if it works, they're a genius. Yeah, if it doesn't, it's we knew Klay was on his way out anyway.
100%
Klay now.
Had to be 32.
34.
34?
He's 33 at his birthday. No, he's 34. His birthday's in February. So, yeah, he's 34.
Yeah, it's wraps. Getting there.
Yeah.
It's wraps.
So they might
get a sad moment when him, Draymond, and Steph all get booted out.
Walk into the sunset. Sad days.
They were supposed to all leave together in Golden State, so it was already sad.
It is. You're right. It is kind of sad thinking about it. They probably would have got rid of Juwaan, but his fucking contract was ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on to the next team. I believe it's the Houston Rockets. Yes, sir. Anyway, so this team is interesting because I will say I like on paper what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? The projected starters for this Houston Rockets teams as of right now. Again, this is just my projections.
Wait, before Juwaan, I just remembered because I had it pulled up and I almost forgot to say it. You were talking about how many draft picks do the Mavericks have for a potential DeAndre Ayton trade. Mm-hmm. They have this year and next year's first. Then they don't have another first until 2031.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so then they could will and deal if they needed to.
I don't know if they're gonna I don't know if 2 firsts will be enough for him. Portland probably wants to stack picks.
No, that's fine. If you lose a bidding war, that's fine. But you know who shouldn't cost you more than 1 or 2 picks?
Oh, Lauri Markkanen.
Kessler. No. Kessler. Oh, well, if you wanted to go for Markkanen, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Now, if you're trying to,
I just don't know if I'm trying to at number 5.
Good luck.
I mean, so yeah. No, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to bring that up because I had it up before I switch it to Houston's draft.
No, I appreciate you because it was in the back of my head. So thank you. So now I know. Okay.
Anyway, let's get back to where we were. Anyway, the Houston Rockets. My projected starters. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right. My projected starter as of today. We got Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alfred Sengun. My guy, I like Alfred Sengun. Then you got off the bench, you got Steven Adams, who will hopefully play this year because I think it's been 2 years where I feel like I haven't seen that man. Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, the rookie Reed Shepard. I like him. And then, of course, I call them key losses, but they're more like they're just losses. Richard Bullock, who was barely in the rotation. He was more just extra depth, and Boban again more just extra big man that they had on the roster. So they didn't really lose anything. Their biggest addition, honestly, is Reed, who I think he was the number 3 pick in this year's draft. A lot of potential in that kid. We'll see what they do with it. See if hopefully he gets into the rotation because, like I said earlier, I think they're actually even deeper than that because off the bench they still have Aaron Holiday, Jason Tate, Jeff Green, Jock Landale. Like that's pretty good third string. Like that's insane. Not a lot of guys can go that deep. So Houston even has people like on the deep bench. So like that's impressive. But they're very young, and I think that's probably their biggest weakness. But that's why they brought in guys like Van Vliet last year and Dylan Brooks, and it got to work to their advantage. And it really depends how quick these guys can mature, and we'll see how long they stay there. It's a lot of marinating that's going to have to go on in Houston. But this is what it looks like. Didge, what you think?
This is another interesting team. I feel like the West is full of those, but Houston they ended their year with what they had going into March. They had an 11-game winning streak that had everybody like, yo, they might get that one of those play-in spots. Then they turned it around and lost 5 straight, and everybody was like, oh, there's the Houston that we thought. Man. So, which team are we getting when we start this season? Was that a product of their youth? I guess, like you said, they're a fairly young team, but they have a decent amount of veterans that it's like you can't just flat out say like, well, they're an OKC young team,
right?
So like, was that enough to give them a taste? I agree with you. I don't think Reggie Bullock and losing Reggie Bullock or Boban is that big of a loss. Right. Like they're like, oh man, that sucks, but it's also like, that's just attrition. That it happens.
Right.
I'm gonna go on a positive. I do think that they are better than they were last year. Unfortunately for them, the West is going to probably be better than it was last year, or maybe just as good. And I still think they might be on the outside looking in. They should probably be buyers. Get them something else. Like you said, I do also really like the starting 5, but I think sort of they need one more spark off the bench. I like just looking at this, unless Reed Shepherd, he's a rookie, so he's the great unknown.
Yeah,
like he can come. So. Yeah, like you said, you are correct. By the way, he was the number 3 pick.
Right.
Young players have been coming in recently and having an immediate impact, an immediate crazy impact.
Yeah.
So I think with them, I would say talk to me in January. Yeah. Let me see how those first 2 months went. And then that's when you can kind of figure out like, well, should they be buyers come trade deadline or should they just, try to get older?
I wonder because like that's it. My thing is they have such a young bench, and those guys, those are guys I think should play. Because like I said, I mentioned some other guys that are coming off the bench, like in the
right.
I have deep bench, but those are older vets. Most of those guys they might play, but like Amin Thompson's really good. Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, all these young, budding possible. There's something there. They're very good players. Anybody would want those guys on their bench, and they have a couple guys on the bench. So like. Maybe they have too much youth on the bench. Maybe they can like package that for more of a more useful vet they can bring in, or like something like that. I mean, that's possible.
I mean, they also have 6 draft picks over the next 3, and these are just six first round.
Yeah, so they can get away with that.
They could truly be, if they were looking for a spark, a pretty good buyer. So. I guess it all depends on how aggressive is Ime going to try to be this year. Obviously we know he's a very good coach. Some of his off the court antics got in the way of him.
Ain't nothing wrong with his off the court. Ain't nothing wrong. Sleep your way to the top, homeboy. Sleep your way to the top, dog.
No, man. Some of his off the court antics got in the way of him. But it obviously, like I said, talk to me in January. And I'm curious to see where they are. Which Rockets team ending last year was the true identity? Was it the team that won 11 and was very competitive? Or was it the team that when they got a sniff of the big lights, said, well, let me go ahead and get back into the shadows. I don't know which one they are.
Juwaan.
I'm glad you guys brought up draft picks because as soon as the slide came up, first person I thought they should look to get with those said draft picks is I do think a team, and we'll get to that team, so I'm not going to stay on them. I'm just going to say how I think it helps Houston, but I think Pelicans are going to end up being sellers.
Interesting.
You are only as good as Zion's health. So I don't see a full healthy season. I don't know what he does with his body, but it's never anything good. So I think if you're going to choose to keep hitching your horse to Zion, then I think if you're Houston Rockets, you give them 4 first-round picks for Brandon Ingram. You go get Brandon Ingram, move Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks, to me, is one of those you know what Dillon Brooks reminds me of, Didge? You'll appreciate this. Dillon Brooks is nothing more than Cortland Finnegan of the NBA. That's all Dillon Brooks is. He's never anyone you take seriously, but he is talented enough to piss you off, enough to maybe get your best player ejected. That's really all he is. That's it. That's all he is. That's it. So for me, Dillon Brooks is not pivotal to their success. I think he hinders it more than he helps. I think he takes shots that should be Jalen Green's, right? Mm-hmm. I think he gets in the way of Jabari Smith. So I think if you add Brandon Ingram to this team can get you exactly to where you need to be, which is on a proper trajectory moving forward. Ingram gives you the scoring you need so that the pressure's not on Jalen Green. It allows Jabari Smith to grow. Sengun, I'm not really sure where he wants his game to be, right? Like, does he want to be that scorer? Does he want to be that defender? Does he want to be that rebounder? I think he's still finding his footing. Same thing with Jabari Smith, I think also. But I think they're both really good at scoring when they want to. But I think Brandon – go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sengun led the team scoring.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. I do see Jabari Smith. I do hope for Jabari Smith he has a better trajectory than someone like what's the tall kid from Cleveland? Mobley. Mobley is somebody you look at and you're like, God damn, that kid's gonna be so talented. Then you look at him and you're like, his 2 guards are stunting his growth 100%. So I look at Jabari Smith and I'm like, he needs to find a way to not become that. Go ahead, Didge. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say to your Dillon Brooks point. I was just gonna wait till you were done. I don't think he entered the year as their starter.
Yeah, I don't think he should. I don't think he should still be on this team. I mean, I don't get what no,
I'm saying even if they don't make a move,
they can't want more.
You think he goes to the bench?
I was gonna say Thompson. Amen Thompson.
Okay.
I like Amen. I know he likes playing point guard. I don't know. I guess that could.
But he has the height, and I think he's specifically listed as their small forward.
They do,
but yeah, I get it. You are right. He does love to play. I get you on that. But I think at some point, I'm also not high on Dillon Brooks. That they're going to be like, yo, you gotta get in here. If you want to be a point forward, I don't care, but you gotta get in here.
Yeah. Look, I don't disagree. I saw a lot of Rockets games. I even saw the Rockets games when they played the Knicks. I just saw Dillon Brooks taking a lot of shots that should not be his.
But that was even him in Memphis. That is the epitome of Dillon Brooks.
It is. Well, I would say at least Memphis, they were able to smother it because Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams were getting you so many second looks that would come back and then go to your proper shooters and your proper ball handler. So it wasn't as detrimental to the team as it seems to be in Houston because these are young kids that seem to not be as vocal of, hey, you should not be shooting 20 to 30 times a game. We have 3 rookies that should average that amongst themselves, let alone your primary ball handler in Van Vliet.
I also wonder if, like, Fred VanVleet's probably considered the star of this team, right?
It depends, because if you listen to fucking Gilbert Arenas, Jalen Green is Jesus.
But I guess I think to Joel's point, maybe the money tells you that
it. Yeah, money puts you at that position. Yeah,
sure. Fred VanVleet, not a Ja Morant. That's where I was going with this.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I think his days in Memphis, where the difference is, Ja Morant was telling them, or telling Dylan Brooks specifically, "You're not about to do this on my team."
Right.
You just
Right.
not.
Right.
Whereas a Fred VanVleet trying to tell you that, or even a Jalen Green, probably don't hit the same, because for all that Dylan Brooks is, he is still very cocky and confident.
Mm-hmm.
And where I think a Ja Morant was able to like kind of, I almost want to say, put him in his place. I don't know if they had the cachet to do it. And I think that's where you get the detriment. Like,
Right.
he ain't got the people around him to be like, yo, calm down.
Right. I completely agree with you. And that's why I said this team has all the potential to be just as much of a dark horse as the Spurs. Their only thing holding them back is Dylan. And I'm not saying Dylan Brooks is such a big problem that he's stopping them from being a good team. But I do think him being on your roster is wasting a spot. I don't know what he adds to you. I only know what he subtracts from you.
Well,
and I think
he's Pat Bev. He's the agitator.
I'm sorry for the money that I'm paying you, and you starting. That's not enough. That's not enough. Sorry.
Well, like I said, I don't think he's. I don't know what his contract is like, so I couldn't speak on the money. And then also, I don't think he's gonna start. Pat, I don't think. Like I said, sometime this year. I don't know when.
Money wise, I only say that, Didge, because they outbid Memphis, so it had to be substantially more to outbid Memphis from bringing you back.
I ain't outbidding somebody for Dylan Brooks.
Well, again, it was a team that had nothing, and you were trying to build something.
They wanted
right. Right. You had to try to build somewhere. But I'll say this: Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., or Sengun. Am I saying it right? Sengun? Okay.
Yeah.
I will say this. Out of what was the first team we said? Dallas Mavericks, right? We know Dallas Mavericks are probably going to produce 2 All-Stars, correct? We could make an argument Pelicans possibly could have 1 All-Star, right? We know the Spurs will 100% have an All-Star. This team will make a – well, no. I thought Wemby. Who are you saying, Chris?
No, I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought you meant now, like this season. I'm like, well, what's different? Oh, no, I thought you were saying.
I meant
Chris.
like in general. Like we weren't
got you.
San Antonio for any All Stars till Wemby showed up.
Right. So I think Houston could take
Chris Paul a starting
of an All-Star.
I'm starting Chris Paul, but I'm not.
I mean, I'm in an All-Star.
Yeah, I don't know. If Chris Paul earns an All-Star, this team's making the finals.
Spurs a lot better than we thought.
He turned the Spurs back into old school Hornets at that point.
He's making $22 million a year, second highest paid player on the team.
Yeah, that's a problem. So I'll say this: the Houston Rockets can make a big step forward if they can get Jalen Green to make a huge step forward. If they can get Jabari to make a huge step forward. If they can get Sengun to make a huge step forward. And I think they're all capable of doing it. So to me, I can see this team being a dark horse, but that's only in my mind if they can make that move for someone like Brandon Ingram to help enhance this team. You're essentially removing something detrimental to give you something that's instrumental in your success going forward. So that's how I see the Houston Rockets season playing out, is that they could be a dark horse. They can make a move like that. So
that is fair.
I mean, I
forgot my Discord's going to show there. Let me move that.
I was about to say, we're watching a whole conversation happen.
Yeah, let me get that out of there.
I was going to say, I was really trying to figure out why they had Amin as a small forward. I think it's because he was starting at small forward when Sengun went down. So they played small, and they had Jabari at center, and they moved Dylan Brooks to power forward. And then they had Amin come in and start at small forward. That's what happened.
ESPN agrees with you as this being the projected lineup, by the way.
No, I mean, my projections are pretty good. for the most part. Like,
I disagree with you and ESPN about Dylan Brooks being the start. Well, he might start day one. But
I'm about to say, man's making $22 million. You're not going to bench for no reason. You got to give me a reason to put you on the bench. So, bam. Anyway, we can move on from Houston. Sorry, it's in Dallas.
Yep. To Memphis.
Memphis. Like, some people might have issues with my projected starting lineup here. I can see that. But as of right now, that's what I got. Sorry. Memphis. So Memphis Grizzlies, my projected starting lineup as of right now is John Morant, Desmond Bane, Vince Williams Jr., Santi Aldama, and Jaren Jackson Jr. This is my lineup because, it was very hard to make a decision on who should start and who should not start. And this is all based off the most injury-riddled season I've ever seen from a team in my life. I think everybody from the starters to like the majority of the bench was hurt last year. It was kind of sad. I've never seen so many random players show up for a couple games and have to go away the next week. It was insane. Anyway,
Marcus Smart off the bench, huh?
Yeah, I got Marcus Smart off the bench because I feel like they need it.
Okay. So a bench spark, okay.
They need a bench spark, and I think Marcus Smart can be that. They just let go of Derrick Rose. So that they need someone. They need a name. They need something coming off the bench. I think they have enough starting talent, in my opinion, between Morant, Bane, and Jackson. So I think Smart, no need. I don't think you need to start him. If they want to, fine. But I prefer having Bane play the shooting guard, and Morant and point guard. And Vince Williams did a great job last year at small forward when everyone was hurt. So I'm like, let's run it back with him again. And again, Santi, he's fine at power forward. At the end of the day, they might just move back Jaren and start Edey. Again, rookie Edey. He's a rookie. That's gonna have to play out through training camp. This is just me based on looking on paper. I got to see. I don't know. Can I trust Edey right away? I don't know. We'll see. The bench is made up, at least for me, is Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, John Conchar. Got Chanchar. I think it's Conchar. Brandon Clark, who I really like. If he's healthy, he could be a starter too. We'll see. And Zach Edey, who can also be a starter if it really works out for them. Their biggest loss was Zaire Williams, who obviously had moments where he was important to that team, and then some where he wasn't. I don't know. I guess that's why they traded him. And I think their biggest acquisition was bringing in drafting Zach Edey. So that could be a huge thing for them. Obviously, they have some other players on the bench like Jake LaRavia and Gigi Jackson, who I really like, but is already fucking hurt. So sorry.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure he's not starting the year.
Yeah, Gigi's not starting the year. That's why I don't even have him listed at the moment. So we'll see. I think he could be something useful in the future, but until he's healthy, we won't know. So what do you guys think, Juwaan?
His teams go as far as the gun laws allow John Morant, right? So I think
the gun laws.
I think
luckily they're in Memphis.
I think if the gun laws are, start to lighten themselves up, John Morant can give you a full season. No, all jokes aside, it is as far as John Morant takes him. And someone I want to talk about that I think the media has been very soft on after shoving them down our throats is Jaren Jackson Jr. That kid needs to step up big time. I don't care if you have John Morant, don't have John Morant. There's no reason why his talent shouldn't make him the best player on that court any day of the week for this team.
Healthiest guy of
the he was. No, he was. And let me be very clear. I don't put losses or wins on Jaren Jackson Jr. I just mean his impact to a game, not the result of one.
He got to be man. It's crazy.
Audience, just so you guys know, Joel will never forgive Jaren Jackson Jr. for the FIBA. So, if you ever hear him talk passionately about Jaren Jackson Jr. and rebounding, it's because he doesn't respect his ability to rebound.
I don't. I could out-rebound.
Joel was talking about there were moments he was just like, well, just play Josh Hart. I mean, if we need rebounding.
They did. That's how desperate they were at some points. They're like,
they call attention. Like, how good of a rebounder is he? It's like, you can put him in. They'll play the 4 or the 5. Yeah. But no, Jaren Jackson Jr. is someone I want to see make an all-star game this year. That's my expectations from him. That is my expectations from him. Because look at it like this. If he's playing the 5 that's a position we view as very slim, right? Very slim. It's why most of the fives we kind of just circle in to just automatically make it. But this year he needs to make it. Outside of Bam, who again I don't really see as a 5, but outside of Bam,
is there 5?
No, he is, but I don't really see him as a 5.
For now. I mean, unless they move to the 4 and Ware starts. I mean, we'll get there. We're not there.
the two center lock-ins need to be Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. for this team to be looked at to have any success this year.
Desmond Bane is really good too.
No, yeah. Desmond Bane is, but I don't look. Desmond Bane, I've always seen as like a Klay Thompson type of guy. Now he could eclipse that, right? At any point, he could eclipse that. It's just it doesn't seem like the consistency is always there, impact-wise. I'm sure his numbers are great, but it's the impact I'm referring to. His impact doesn't always seem to be there.
I get you. They had 33 players on their roster at some throughout all of last year.
That's insane.
Because of all the injuries, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this though. I don't think the losses, I don't think the changes, I don't think anything should stop this team from getting back to exactly where they were. I think if you can get your point guards head on straight, you can get Bane and Jackson to be healthy, this team will be fine. This team could be easily the 6th seed.
If they want to be good, look, they are good. I think you're right. They were good before. They'll be good again. If Jaren Jackson cannot average the same amount of rebounds as Ja Morant, he just can't. That
can't happen. Yeah, that can't happen. Because remember, a lot of their success early on was Steven Adams creating so many second opportunities for them. But now you don't have that. So now it's looked to Jaren Jackson to step up and replace that. And he struggled in replacing that. Not defensively, but rebounding wise. Sorry. Rebounding wise, he struggled there. So for me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I have Aldama starting, and he can't rebound either. So I just need people that throw in someone. That's why I think if they try to if Brandon Clark is healthy, because he was hurt most of last year, to excuse him, he could start and have Jaren play at center, and they have Clark at power 4. At least I know Clark can rebound. Everyone else, and Gigi, I think could eventually get there, but again, he hurt, so we'll see. Anyway, go ahead. You were saying.
No, I was just gonna wrap it up, but before you pass it to Didge, I was just gonna wrap it up by saying, like we were saying before, when you talk about key losses, you still have Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. That was kind of your nucleus when you were winning. It was just they were healthy. So it just circles back to if they're on the court, this team should be – look, I'll say this. I think so highly of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Remember the praise I gave last week of the Kings? If healthy, I put the Grizzlies right around where I put the Kings. There's no reason why they can't be as good as the Kings. So for me, that's their ceiling, is wherever you think the Kings can go, that's where the Grizzlies can go. Now, the Grizzlies are one of those tough, rugged teams that could catch one of those top-seeded teams off guard and knock them because of their defensive grit and their speed and how they can kind of make you play their kind of basketball. So I could see OKC at 1 and maybe them at 8 and them beating OKC. I could see that's how talented Ja Morant, Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. are, right? But it'll come down to health. So for me, I see this team going from 8 to 6. I see them around that ballpark. 6, 7, or 8. I see them around that ballpark there, maybe 5, maybe. But it all depends on health. So I don't think this team has much to worry about. They just got to focus on staying healthy and, maybe keep Ja Morant away from NBA Youngboy music videos or I don't know, whatever's really whatever's making him want to show guns so much. Just keep him away from it. Maybe stop fighting over women with Drake, whatever the case may be. Just, keep his head on straight, focus on basketball. And I think this team could be right back to where they were before when we thought their trajectory was starting to trend towards a championship. So,
all right, contenders. Didge?
I disagree with your starting 5, actually.
That's fine. I mean, I don't 100% agree with it.
No, that's fair. That was the first thing that came to mind.
I don't even like it.
I
told you I don't like Santi starting. I don't,
and that's the thing. I don't think. Well, yeah, I don't think he does because I think Bane's going to be there. I have Bane starting at small, Jaren Jackson at power, and I do think they start Edey, and obviously Marcus Smart's in at shooting guard.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, that could be the starting lineup. Absolutely. I think you leave your bench completely dead. That you have no bench.
But
that's my problem. That's fine.
I get
you want to do that.
I get that.
That's
but I'm
fine.
gonna be honest, they kind of don't have a bench anyway.
Just to me, you need something off the bench.
Like Mark, I get why you put Marcus Smart because to give you something from the bench.
Right.
But I don't think
I mean, Luke Kennard's fine.
But he's also hurt right now. Like I know he's not out.
They're all hurt. That's what I mean.
Like,
you can't trust them. Like John Clark has moments that I've seen him start for Memphis in the past. I like Brandon Clark, and it's just I don't love the fact that I can't nail all 5 players. That bothers me.
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I mean?
I think this team has more questions than answers at this point. Yeah. And unfortunately, one of their biggest questions is health for sure. Yeah. Because, like you said, they can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I can't. My thing is I can't. Their starting 5 was one of the hardest ones for me to just project. So this is just based on last year's information I got from last year and not trusting some of what I saw on the bench. So that's what it is.
No, I fully understand that.
Those are those 5 best players. Then that's true. That's 100% true.
I think
you could do that.
I think the only reason I say I think that's going to be their starting 5 is one already. I think Edey's going to still be a liability. Like he's huge. I get that. He's huge. He can rebound. 7'3". 7'3", 300 pounds. So he's a big boy.
Big boy, yeah.
But he's slow. Yeah. Trust me. I watched a lot of Purdue. They're in the same conference as the Badgers. And
really gonna play in the air though?
Slow. But college is a lot slower than the NBA.
I totally agree. Yeah.
There's a reason why when he was drafted at 9, everybody was like, wait, what?
Why?
Because college is a lot different than the NBA, and unless he's been in the gym working on sprints this entire offseason, I just don't see where they're going to get the speed from him. Like we were talking about Luka getting ran around. Well, what are they going to do when their front court gets ran around and they just run around your backup anyway? Like,
that's where if Jaren Jackson Jr. is doing his job, he should meet them right at the rim.
But I mean, he can only do that from one side. You need to have your center be able to do that too.
Yeah.
So
for sure. I did say Didge, the one superpower I've always given. I can't remember the head coach's name, but I've always given him when it comes to this team
head coach
is the ability to halt teams
and
make them. Okay, thank you. Remember when they played Golden State? There's a reason why that series went as long as it did. Golden State was not able to be as fast as they're used to being. It just took Clay turning into Jesus.
Yeah.
For the Warriors to get past the Grizzlies. So I think where Santi doesn't have to really be a detriment is that if the team can slow the game down
I don't even mean
to
Santi.
match them.
He's also I'm talking about how slow Zach Edey is.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. My apologies. Sorry. I thought you were talking about Santi.
No, he was projecting Zach Edey starts, so I'm like, we're talking about how the problem with that.
Yeah. So like I said, I think this team is just super, super filled with question marks because of stuff like that. Like you said, Joel, it's so hard to put who are going to be your projected starters. Because let's say if this is their projected starters, then when you bring in your next 5, your spark off the bench is kind of hurt because so I'm just curious to see how does Zach Edey adapt his game to the professional, and I think it's crazy to put that on a rookie, but because of the question marks around their health, I think that's sort of like the next question. Because if Ja's healthy, if Desmond Bane and Jaren Jack, if they're all on, they're on. But if you have a legit liability out there that they can exploit, then it just becomes like, well, we know what we need to do. We need to make it. We know where we need to focus our game at. We need to make it so this is the person who you have to hope steps up. And
my question for you is, Didge, how do you view Desmond Bane?
I
think that he's a solid second piece.
So you think he's the second best player on this team?
Make that argument.
I think so. Yes.
I think if Desmond Bane is your second best player, this team won't go far.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if this team goes far.
Well, I'm saying I think if Jaren Jackson Jr. does not step up to be their second best player, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. If your big man, that's as talented as he is not your second best player, that better either tell me that Desmond Bane is going to be an all-star next year, or it means Jaren Jackson should stop being talked about the way that people talk about Jaren Jackson Jr.
I mean, second best player. I think they're very close. It's
okay.
It's
I'll give
arguable.
You that.
It's arguable. I don't think it's a clear cut like Desmond Bane is there.
I mean, last year Desmond Bane. Well, again, we're talking about a Desmond Bane that was mostly hurt, but he averaged 23 points a game, 23.7.
I don't hold last season against any of the three because they all transitioned out a lot.
Ja played. Let me see. Ja played 9 games, so like Desmond played at least 42 games. Jaren played 66, and Marcus Smart played 20. It was bad.
But I mean, even to that point, like I know you said you don't hold it against them.
Mm-hmm.
Even to that point, Desmond scored more, and I think they were pretty close in rebounds. It was like 4-5.
Well, that's Joel's problem. They shouldn't be that close in rebounding. But no, I asked you about Desmond Bane because I wanted to say their bench is not a problem, and here's why. I believe anytime – let me tell you why. Anytime you have a team where you're saying there are 3 players, 2 of them you believe are equal in talent, you know what that means? It means when you sub 2 out, 1 should remain. So no matter how bad your bench is, one of your, and I mean star as far as star to that team, not star in the NBA.
I know what you mean, yeah.
One of your best players should still be on the court at all times. One should rotate to constantly be with your bench so that you're never fully depending on your bench to carry you. You're always having one of the guys there to at least alleviate some of that pressure.
I don't think that it's a bench versus starters issue with this team. I think it's a front court versus back court.
You think the backcourt is heavier than the front court?
I think the backcourt can get you wins. The front court is where the question marks come, where they're at best questionable, at worst a liability.
I will say I will never understand why they thought it was smart to get rid of Steven Adams.
I thought I thought they got outbid. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what the.
No, they traded him. Yeah, they traded him. Yeah, they traded him.
What did they get for him?
It was in that Marcus Smart trade, I believe.
Oh well, I mean,
it might have been a 3-way trade.
Yeah, I think it was a 3-way trade. I'm just saying I don't think that needed to be the piece you moved. I don't think Houston was looking at it like we have to have Steven Adams or we're good.
I remember when Houston made the trade. I was like, why?
It's tough.
It was a weird one.
it could have been it could have been something needing the money to match. But
right, yeah, no, that I understand completely. But I'm saying to me,
weird.
I think if you're the Grizzlies, I don't. Okay, so let me say this: the Grizzlies, I look at and I think they have the same problem the Knicks have. Right? I think they look at their team and they're like, I like my team. I like my 5. Then it's like, well, then who comes after your 5?
They don't have a 5. They have 3, 4 tops.
No. Not 5 as in starting 5. I mean, they're 5 positions. They like their center. They like their center, but they never thought about who backs your center.
Well, that's the thing. They don't even know if their center's their center or their power forward.
Well, he's a power. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. and Bam are the exact same. They're 4s masquerading around as 5s. It's why we hold rebounds so high against them, because we're like, if you're going to placate as a 5, be a 5.
Jaren had to play center out of necessity.
Right.
There was nobody there to play it.
Well, so did Bam. Who else was going to play 5?
But that's also their choice. He was always the 5. He's been the 5 for the last couple of years.
But they've never had a 5 better.
But they don't look for one.
The Marcus Smart trade was not what got. They traded him for Victor Oladipo and some draft picks.
Oh, that was to get rid of Oladipo.
But it's weird because a week later they waived Oladipo.
It was the pick,
right?
But they were second round picks.
But then it was a money
move. It had to be a money move because it's like that.
But you could have loosened money somewhere else.
But
obviously they didn't even want to pay him. That's where they would have came.
Yeah.
Now
that is
true. Been injured for basically 2 years in a row. Maybe that's what they were. Maybe they know something we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Well, one of them was season-ending injury very early on, and then the other one was just like a breakdown.
Which was last year.
Right.
His last game played was 2023.
Right.
Yeah, he just got hit I think the first week. I think it's done.
I just say this. I think, Joel, I think the NBA as a whole is having an identity crisis. I think they're leaning more into a reality that you refuse to be in. And that reality is they don't respect position basketball. It's why you're getting so many players playing out of a natural position. Think about how many times we've said, what is this player's actual position? Like not what they're saying. What is their actual position?
The problem is there's not 5 positions anymore. There's 3.
Right.
Guard, there's forward, and there's center. And there's like variations of guard, variations of forward. Right. Now, if you ask other people, there is no such thing as positions. I don't believe that at all.
Right.
But there's always a big. I don't care what you want to call it. You don't have to call it center if you don't want. But there's always a big, and that's how every team plays with a big in the middle. That's just how it is. Sometimes you can play smaller. Some will play bigger, but at the end of the day, there's someone that fucking rebounds the basketball and should protect the paint. That's what they're there for.
I get what you're saying because you're saying it by definition. Like no one's going to put their point guard at the 5 position.
Absolutely.
I get you. But in a sense of a position mattering where a player plays on your lineup, I do think it's slowly starting to die. That's not a thing anymore. People they look at you and they go, he's a 3, but he rebounds way better than he shoots. So I'm going to put him as a 4. And it's like, that's not what you should do.
You could do that with 3 and 4. You could do that with 1 and 2. When it comes to the 5, to me, 4 and 5 used to be interchangeable now because 3 and 4 are basically the same thing. 5 is almost unique in the fact that it is. You can't replace that. Not anybody could just do that.
I think the problem that started to happen, Joel, was, and we can move on, I'm sorry, but I think the biggest problem that happened was there started to become too large of a separation between what is asked of a 4 and what is asked of a 5, right? What started happening was your 4s were becoming your stretch shooters, right?
Yeah.
And then the league started saying, shouldn't our 5s be that too? And no one said, whoa, hold on. No. What about defending the basket? People started saying, well, analytics are telling us we need to score more than we need to defend. And that's where it started breaking down the – because think about it. Your true bigs are like Zubac, Mitchell Robinson, right? Like it's not many. Like starters. I don't mean period. I just mean starters.
Plenty of centers. I can name them.
No, there are. But starters in the league, you're not going to find many that can't stretch a court. Yeah, because a lot of teams don't want it.
I know, but for the most part, most still don't stretch as much as they'd like. Now there are that do, like guys like Miles Turner, and again, those are rare commodities. Back in the day, they were even rarer, and that's where we're at now. It's 5 stretch out, 5. Like D'Antoni, you can play your small forward at center. Fuck it, we can make it like that. No championship. That's all I'm saying.
You gotta let that go, man. That really bothered you that year, Joe.
I will never get over that. I hope you lose every game going forward. That's how I felt. That's so stupid, but whatever. I'm glad that didn't work.
No, I get you. But I can say, as we ended here with the Grizzlies, I can say positionless sports are becoming way more apparent in football and in basketball. You're getting a lot more.
I don't know if it's
I say that
apparent in football.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you where it's happening more and more in football on defense. You're getting a lot of full safeties playing middle linebacker in a lot of coverages. So you're starting to take your safeties and not valuing them because what's happening is think about what football is doing. They're putting their speedy guys on your linebackers. So teams are saying linebackers aren't built for speed. It's rare. It's like one Fred Warner, one Bobby Wagner, right? So they're saying to catch up with the game, we're going to put our high safety, right, as our middle linebacker, and you try outrunning that guy, right? So they're just trying to acclimate to the fact that the game is changing, how it's moving around their receivers and running backs, and they're picking on the middle linebackers. So the middle linebacker is starting to decay. It's why, if you think about it, I don't think you can name me 5 like all-pro middle linebackers. It's really just Fred Warner because that position is starting to decay. I mean, and they're bringing their safeties down.
Even the nickel, they're still called middle linebacker, even though technically.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by that. More defensively, not football as a whole.
It's called evolving positions. It's not that the positions are gone. Like the All-Star game said, "Oh, there's no such thing as center." So I'm like, oh, "Fuck you, that's not true."
They just mean them calling it a center because for them it's a stretch. It's a stretch big.
Yeah, but I'm not having 3 small forwards out there. I'm just not doing that.
That's the life you got to get accustomed to, buddy.
I'm never gonna get used to that. That's stupid. The game didn't change. It's only the All-Star game decided to do that. Whatever. Anyway, moving on to the next team, New Orleans, the Pels, the Big Birds. All right, so my projected starters for the Pelicans are.
I forgot they got DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, surprise,
bitch. Surprise, motherfucker.
DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum back at the 2, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Daniel Tice as of right now as the starting center, at least for me. I mean, one of these other guys comes up, caught me off guard, didn't expect it. The bench, Trey Murphy, I like him a lot. Herb Jones, I like him a lot. Jose Alvarado, I like him a lot. I like so far the bench has been pretty good. Jordan Hawkins, the rookie Evis Missy, I guess. We'll see. Maybe he starts. We'll see. Key losses, they've lost big man Jonas Valanciunas. They lost Najee Marshall, obviously. We're just talking about that. Larry Nance Jr. and Dyson Daniels all gone. And then they brought in DeJounte Murray, Daniel Tyson, the rookie, and they drafted Evis Missy. So those are their biggest losses and additions. Pelicans, man. Again, on paper they look good.
Yeah.
Too, you know, I like them looking at it. I like it. It looks good. No question marks like with Memphis. But they seem to always come up a little bit short, and they're just missing the mark. Not sure what it is. Didge, what do you think, man? What do you think about the Pelicans?
I think who was it? That was you that said it earlier, right, Juwaan? That this team goes as healthy as Zion.
Yeah,
healthy Zion.
I was gonna agree with you on that. I forgot they got, like I said, obviously a couple seconds ago, I forgot they got DeJounte Murray. On paper, this team looks really good. This team looks like they're poised to take the next step. But I don't think they go as far as a healthy Zion. I think no matter what, they just won't. I don't know if it's coaching, but to what you were just saying, Joel, every year it seems like something. It seems like they get to that playoffs and the lights become too bright, whether it's a play-in game or a first round. The lights just immediately become too bright for them. And I think it might be time for them to kind of blow this up. I want to say blow it up, but they just got DeJounte Murray, so I'm kind of like hesitant now. All of my talking points kind of flew away when I saw that he was on the team because I was ready to be like, I don't think this team has done anything where they can make the next step. So I'm gonna take what I said for the Rockets. Talk to me again in January. I'm leaning towards either you make a coaching change or you blow this up. But obviously, DeJounte Murray could be the piece that they were missing. I am curious now why. I think it was you again, Juwaan, who said you think they'll be selling by All-Star break.
Yes, because I don't think Zion can stay healthy. So, but that's where I disagree with you. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
But he's agreeing with you.
Point? No. I was about to get into what I was disagreeing with, but I'm sorry. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No. I do want to ask you about that. I do think Zion stays healthy. I still don't think that they're a top 6 team in the West. Mm-hmm. So play in. I think they could get into the playoffs. Like they'll eventually get top 8. They'll have to play for that top 8. Mm-hmm. But first round is their ceiling still. I'm not high enough on DeJounte Murray to be like, this is the piece that's gonna put them over the top. And even though I think Zion will be healthy, I gotta hedge that he might not.
I mean,
I do have to hedge that. Like,
that's a hard one, man.
I do think he'll be healthy. I think he played 70 games last year. But yeah, he played a lot of games. 70. But it was when it got to the postseason time. Yeah, that was when the injury came.
The most of all time too. Like,
his knees said, "Bro, maybe instead of 70, he should have 64." 62. Maybe it would have been good. But see, that's where I disagree with you on you saying maybe it's time for a coaching change. Their problem's never been coaching. Their problem's been your best player when healthy is like LeBron James. And then when he's not healthy, it's like the Lakers without LeBron James. It's apparent the difference there. And I think the problem is Ingram is not being responsible enough, right? Ingram played well in that series where Zion went down until he didn't. His problem is he needs to realize because Zion's never there, you're the best player. Play like it. Play like it. And one of the biggest issues they solved that, like Joel talking about playing out of position. I've never liked CJ McCollum as a point guard. I've never liked it. I never will. It should have never happened. It happened out of desperation, but needed to be rectified. Now, mind you, I do not believe DeJounte Murray is way better of a point guard than CJ McCollum. But it is a improvement at your point guard position. So I do believe
super high on DeJounte Murray in general. I think he'll be a great
I think DeJounte Murray, yes, I think DeJounte Murray is a phenomenal piece. He's not a star, he's not a superstar, he's not anything like that. That's where the Hawks went wrong. So for me, I do believe this team, like you said, is 6, 7, or 8, around that ballpark. I do think if you're telling me Zion's going to be healthy for 71 games, they're making the playoffs.
I don't see 6 because they're in the play-in.
That's fine. That's fine. But they're making the playoffs if Zion is healthy that many games. They're making the playoffs. So again, this team does not have any other issue outside of 2 things for me: Zion's health and the fact that Valanciunas loss is a massive loss for this team. That guy was a very big glue piece at the 5 for them. Very big glue piece. Going to Tice. Now, look, if you watch some Daniel Tate, that man's an Embiid stopper. There's no one that can stop Joel Embiid like that kid could. But I don't think that's an improvement over Valanciunas. I think it's a downgrade from where Valanciunas had you at. So I think they're gonna feel it at the 5 position in Zion's health. Because to me, I think anyone who watched the Pelicans in the playoffs last year, when Zion was healthy, did that team not look like they were about to go on a possible run? And then the moment he was out, it was just like, oh, well, there you go. Back down to reality. So I don't think it's a problem of coaching. I think it's a problem of it's clear who your best player is. And until you figure out either trading him to move on from this whole ordeal, you're going to have to structure things better to protect him. Because right now, Zion plays basketball like Cleveland Cavaliers Shaq, to where you might have to just preserve him for the playoffs. Like, fuck a whole regular season. Just pray you can get play in and then bring him back for the playoffs.
The only reason I say coaching change is we've been dealing with this with Zion for his entire career, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the first 2 or 3 years, the team as a whole wasn't good enough to where it was like, well, even with Zion, they might not do too much. These past 2 years, like this obviously this last season, and the season before that, and especially this year, on paper, these teams are poised to make that next step.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, we got to say, yo, what are you doing as the coach that when Zion goes down, you guys become, I don't know, the Spurs of old? Like, what?
I mean, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, at some point, you got to ask the coach, like, you're not getting everybody else ready. You just hoping that he's healthy. What's going on here?
I get where you're coming from. I do. I truly do. But it's rare we see an absence sink a team as big as when Zion's not there. It's something you rarely see. I don't think there's any coach you could put on this team that could drum up more success with this roster minus Zion. Now, I can tell you there's a bunch of coaches that, if Zion's healthy, could elevate them higher.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's a coach in the NBA or in college that could make this team minus Zion any better than where they've been, with or without Zion, right? So for me, it's if Zion's healthy, I know plenty of coaches that could elevate them to championship status. But I don't think there's any coach that could make this work if Zion's not healthy. He's just clearly your best player. It'd be like picture last season Sixers with no Joel Embiid all year.
Right.
Where do they go? Right? Now, that's no disrespect to Maxey. I think Maxey is going to be an all-star this year. But Maxey's not enough to take you anywhere. You know what I'm saying? It's not enough to take you where you need to be. So I think this team is good talent-wise. It's just they need Zion. Because when he's there, you feel it. It's a massive difference. Massive difference than when he's not. So that's why I think they live and die on Zion. So you either need to move past him or just figure out a way to preserve him. Don't they got hyperbolic time chambers or some shit? Figure out something.
It's just crazy to me that don't get me wrong. Obviously, we've seen what a star leaving can do. But it's not like this team is garbage without him, but they play like it.
Yeah.
They don't have to be garbage without him. I think right now, what Juwaan said is right. Like Daniel Tice, I like Daniel Tice.
Right.
But that's going to be their biggest hole of center because they're going to have to play Zion at center at an occasion because they have no choice. They have no bigs, really. It's just their bigs are very minimal. Their best big is Zion.
Yeah.
and he's not very big. He's 6'6", but he's fucking strong as an ox.
I mean, what is it, Misi? I think he's 6'11".
Missi's, yeah, he's tall. He's a center. But again, he's a rookie. So unless he's I don't even know what late first rounder I think he was.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. I mean,
I didn't watch a lot of Baylor last year, so I couldn't tell you how well he played.
Me neither. I don't. And they brought in a couple big men. Like they brought in, obviously they signed Tice. They drafted Misi. They brought in another guy that they drafted a couple of years ago, Matt Kovich, and Trey Jemison, who was on a 2A last year at Memphis, who played pretty well actually. They're all going to fight for that fight. Even Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who they have on the bench, he played some center too. So they're going to all fight for center minutes. And, to me, it's an open spot. Right now I have Tice because I've seen Tice. I know he can play it. I trust Tice. Everyone else, I have no idea. There's a lot of question marks. Yeah. That's going to be an open competition at center.
I just think – I hate to say someone's coaching for their job, but I do think that he's coaching for his job.
Well, let me be clear. You're not wrong because if they lose again, you have to get rid of the head coach because you won't get rid of a player first. So you're right there. You're absolutely right. There's no argument to be had there. I'm just saying if basketball was more realistic and not reactionary, I don't think you have a head coach problem. I think you have the same problem any team that has one. Again, Didge, we could say this, right? For our teams, you take our best player off, what does it look like? It might look a little different, right?
No, yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you can only blame a head coach for so long before you start looking at Brandon Ingram and saying, when are you going to elevate? When are you going to elevate so we don't have to feel Zion's loss as heavy as we do and you can carry this team?
No, yeah, I do get that.
So that's all and again, it's not like I love their head coach, but I just think I know
I don't have anything against Willie Green.
No, but I'm saying it's not. I'm not defending him like nah, he needs to keep this job. I don't want him to lose it, but I'm saying you can only blame a head coach, but for so long before your problem might be your guy's not stepping up.
I guess the converse of that, you can only say, "Oh man, it's just health for so long." So you got to start looking at your coach like, "Why are you not getting everybody else ready?" That's my only point.
That might be true, but do you think Zion's health is something that a coach can help if Zion's choosing not to fix it?
That's fair.
Because I mean, think about this. Think about this. You look at these players, right? You look at these kids that get all this money that come from nothing, right? And you go, man, women's going to be their problem. No one ever in the history of basketball thought a buffet could derail a young player as much as it does Zion. It didn't even bother Shaq this much. So it's like, that's just something, I don't know what a coach could do. Like, should he hang up photos of Zion at local restaurants and say, don't serve? Like, I don't know. I don't really know what you could do for that. That just had to be a want-to from Zion. So for me, I think this team could be really good. If Zion can play 71 games again, I think the addition of DeJounte Murray makes this team really, really, really good. But we got to see how many games he plays. Does he even start the season? You know? So
yeah, I think he does.
Those are more so my questions for Zion.
Yeah. I mean,
you say that, Didge, but I just heard a couple of players that I thought were going to start the season, and they're like, no, they might come a little bit, later in the year, and I'm just like, damn, really? I thought everything was on the up and up.
No, there's a couple guys that hurt right now.
I mean, look, for us, Julius Randle, that man had from January of last year all summer, and they're talking about he might not start the season. Right. So it's like, damn, we know Mitch won't. Right. We know
I didn't
Mitch
hear
won't.
anything about Zion though.
No,
that's my issue, is that we're hearing nothing. I'm like, I'd like to at least hear he's good to go.
That is fair. I guess you're right. I haven't heard. When I say I haven't heard anything, I have heard zero.
The last time I saw Zion, it looked like he lost weight. So we'll see if that's.
They
still
say that
case.
every season.
He looked like he lost weight last year.
No. I didn't say. I saw. Like when I saw him, he looked like he lost. So no, I didn't hear that. I saw a picture.
I was gonna say
that was a couple months ago, so things could have changed since.
I was gonna say those are the two things you hear every offseason. Zion lost weight, and then you also hear Ben Simmons been in the lab.
Yeah, those are two things you can never trust.
Especially the Ben Simmons shit. Like that's.
Oh man, I'm gonna have words when we get to the Nets. Oh boy,
I saw the clip. Did you see the clip of Ben Simmons? He did like a little behind the back and a fadeaway jump shot.
Sure did. That you'll never see him during the game.
Benjamin Simmons.
That you'll never see. I can't tell you how many. Didge, I can't tell you how many off seasons we've seen Mitchell Robinson shooting threes. Then the game starts and never shoots them. Never.
How you think I feel? I went to I think it was last year, it might have been the year before, but it was basically like buck scrimmage, green versus white.
Yeah.
Giannis you would have thought Giannis was out there like Steph. He was throwing them up, it's going in. I'm like, okay, this is about to be crazy this year. Nothing changed.
It's different, man.
I think the problem is that if you're trying stuff that you don't usually do, when you get to the court and stuff starts to go erratic, you just revert back to what you know, right? So, and I think that's the problem, is that you don't do it enough. It's like Steph going up for dunks. You'll never see that. You'll see it when it's wide open, but you'll never see a consistency of Steph trying to play in the post or get dunks. Why? It's not his bag. He'll immediately he'll run past the basket to go to the 3-point line to shoot it, because he'll revert back to what he knows. So,
or some crazy over no look.
Right. So
yeah, that's true.
What is that?
I think that's the problem, is that people just revert back to what they know, because it's what got them there. So,
but then don't tease me in the off season.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I'm with you there.
Don't get me hype.
I'm completely with you there, bro.
Anyway,
final team.
Final team. Let's move on to San Antonio.
God, hold on. Let me fix that.
What is happening? I don't know what happened. I apologize for all this. I don't know what's wrong. Why everything's all off. No. Put it back. I know what it is.
I'm gonna fix this. Hold on.
It's just like, I got you, dog.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So they're all a little for some reason they were a little off today.
Just go ahead, read them off, Joel.
Just go ahead while I'm doing this.
Do this blind, like I was telling you earlier. Anyway, projected starters for the San Antonio Spurs. At least as far as I got Chris Paul, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sochan, Victor Wembanyama. That is my starting five. Off the bench, you got Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Julius Champagne, Zach Collins, and the rookie Stephon Castle, to name a few. Some key losses: Cedi Osman, who I believe just signed overseas. Doug McDermott, who I'm not even sure.
Dougie McBuckets.
McBuckets is a free agent. Last time I checked, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I haven't heard him sign
Devontae Graham, I believe, signed in Portland on a non-guaranteed deal, so he's fighting for a spot. And the key additions: Chris Paul, who they got off the waiver wire, basically got waived by Golden State. Harrison Barnes, they got in the trade, and Stephon Castle they drafted. All great additions, in my opinion. No major loss. Chetty was a big part of the rotation for a long time. That was probably their biggest loss, but they offset that with their additions. And I like the veteran presence they brought in with Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. They had a lot. I think they add a lot to that team. A very young team in Vassell and Wembanyama and Sochan, and even that bench. Which I like the bench because I like Keldon Johnson a lot. Trey Jones was the starter last year. Julian Champagnie was the starter last year. Zach Collins even started some games last year. And I actually expect the Stephon Castle to start this year for one of the fact that they brought in Chris Paul and some others. So,
at the time of this record or stream, McDermott is back in Indiana.
Is he really? Good for him. I wonder if it's guaranteed or not.
It does not say.
I'd say probably not because they just paid a shit ton of money to Obi and
yeah, I thought it'd be pretty much. I just don't know. I just don't know if they have the room. Is my thing.
I wanted to make sure to say as of the time of this because will that be at the time of the season? I don't know.
Right? Yeah. When training camp comes around, they might be like, ugh.
That's what it is. Training camp is very very soon, and there's a lot of Exhibit 10 deals out there, training camp deals as we call them. So we'll see who actually makes the team at the end of the day, but we'll see. Anyway, San Antonio. I like what I see. How are we liking it, Juwaan? What do you think about the San Antonio Spurs?
First question: did Golden State make the playoffs last year?
They made the play-in.
They didn't make the playoffs.
No, LA and New Orleans did.
Damn, then that changes my.
Wait, what were you gonna say? Let's say I said.
I was gonna say every team Chris Paul has ever played for has made the playoffs.
Oh yeah, no, that's.
But if Golden State didn't make the playoffs last year, he's lost his superpowers. He just went through the Drake. He doesn't have the superpower of the stimulus package no more.
He wasn't starting at that point either.
He did not start. So yeah, maybe that does matter. That does. Okay, so you know what? I take that back.
He was one of those guys that was in and out of the starting lineup because.
And the biggest difference also, usually those teams are with children. He thrives with the kids. It's the veterans he can't click with.
That's a crazy statement.
It does. The younger players he has a better rapport with younger players than he does.
They're more likely to listen to whatever.
Yes, to his leadership. Right. They've made great additions with Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. I know we've been talking a lot about teams that are 6, 7, or 8. If Wembanyama can play the way he did last year, but kick it, up a notch, this team could be 5 or 6. Wembanyama looks like he could be that good.
I mean, definitely has the potential to be.
I know, Didge, that sounds crazy. I'm just saying, if you told me they finished 5 or 6, I would not be that shocked. I would not, because it would tell me it worked. Wembanyama is exactly what they needed him to be. Chris Paul has helped blossom that, and Harrison Barnes is a legit starter. He really is. He really truly is. Harrison Barnes is approaching that Rudy Gay territory, where it's like, you're not great, but you're the best at being really good. Like, you can be really good. Rudy Gay, I thought his best years left him in Memphis. But I do think this team can definitely hit the 5 or 6 seed because I do think Wembanyama can take it up another notch. Because I think, didn't Anthony Edwards go from 8th seed to what? Top 3 last year? Weren't they the 8th seed the year before when Pat Bev was crying, throwing his jersey in the crowd?
They were a playing team, yes.
Yeah, that was when Karl Anthony Towns had 0 and fouled out. I remember that. I'm like,
I want to remind you though, that team went from 42 and 40 to 56. So plus 14. They won 56 games last year.
Right.
This team won 22 games.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying they're going to go 30, maybe 30, 35 more wins?
All right. Answer me this, because I know you can find this quicker than I can. What was OKC's record the year before Chris Paul got there?
Let's see.
Because Chris Paul took that team to the playoffs, and I can't name you who else was on that team.
What year did Chris Paul get to
that? That was Shea. Shea was there, wasn't he?
I don't think he started. Did he start as a 2?
Yeah, it was a 2.
So that was 2020. Weird. Let's see. Oklahoma City was 2018, 2019. Oklahoma City Thunder were 49 and 33.
Oh damn! Who did they have? They had Russell Westbrook in them.
That year. They had Paul George. No, yeah, they had Paul George and Russell Westbrook still.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense. What was the record Chris Paul took that young team to?
44-28.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Chris Paul can do that with this team for sure. Because they lost Paul George and Russell Westbrook and all those guys. And they were very young with that lineup. Because I remember they surprised everybody that they made the playoffs. They were like, how?
Yeah, it was Lou Dort.
Right. They're like, how did you? What?
That was the beginning of Lou Dort's emergence.
And Didge, unless I'm wrong, I don't even think Chris Paul made the All-Star game that year.
I can check that.
Did he?
Well.
I mean, it would make sense if he did.
I think he did. I'm not sure. One of these years he did. Definitely wasn't last year's.
No, of course not. Of course not.
He did.
He did? Okay.
Yeah, because that was 2019-2020 season.
Because I remember, I'm like, it's been a while. I mean, I thought he was done, and then he made it again with OKC. I was like, what the fuck happened?
Right. So I'm saying I don't think Chris Paul is done. I think he still has a little bit more magic left to sprinkle. And I think they can make that jump, Didge, with Popovich there and
Chris
him
Paul
slowly.
Is 39.
But again, no one's asking Chris Paul to be.
No, I'm only answering Joel's question. I didn't mean that as a reply to what you said.
I'm sorry.
Joel said it under his breath. So how old is Chris Paul?
I didn't even hear him. I'm sorry. I told you I hate when Joel does that because I'm like I never know how important it is when he does it. So I think I'm now just catered to like he'll repeat it if I needed to know it. I think Chris Paul can get them 43 wins. 43 wins. Think Chris
and
Paul
you think 43 wins is going to be enough to get you 5?
No. 5 is what I think they can go if Wembanyama takes it a step up from where he was statistically last year. But I think if they just play around where they like, if everyone plays around where they were last year, and your additions of Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul, you can make 8. You can make 7. I don't think that's that difficult for that team with that talent to be able to do. But I'm saying I would not be shocked if someone told me Wembanyama's an all-star and he's averaging 30 and 10 and they're a 6 seed. I wouldn't be shocked at that. I would not be shocked at that. I think he can have that kind of momentum shifting season next year with the addition of Chris Paul. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying a reality take is 7 or 8. But I wouldn't be shocked if Wembanyama can go crazy and get them a 5th or 6th spot in the West. That's all I'm saying.
Interesting.
I mean, I like the team too. I do love the additions of Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, like I said earlier. I like Devin Vassell. I think he could take another step if he stays healthy. He got hurt last year somehow.
Is he the one that colors his hair like Dennis Rodman? Who's the one that does that?
That's Sochan.
Okay.
Sochan, you got to remember that they started Sochan at point guard last year.
They did.
Why? Early, and then eventually, obviously, they realized it didn't work, so they put Trey in there, and Trey Jones ended up being the starter. But Sochan was a starter in the beginning of the year. They had a little experiment. They realized power forwards are better.
I can tell you, this team was so confusing to me. Anytime I played against it in 2K, I never knew who to guard. Like I would back off, and they would hit threes. I'm like, who are you? Who are you, bro? So I'm like, that's what forced me to kind of watch some more Spurs games and go, okay, now I can kind of see what's what. I think the biggest game for me that was an eye-opener was the one where we went to the wire against the Spurs. That battle at MSG. I think that was when I started opening my eyes to some of these young guys. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I can kind of see what their game is. But I'm just saying, Didge, I wouldn't be shocked if from 6 to 8 they finish in anywhere between.
6 is crazy. I don't see in any way that they would be a top 6 team in the West.
That's fair. Look, I got no argument for it. I'm just saying I think the talent is there. I think Chris Paul evolves them, and I think Wemby has a step forward this year.
And yes, Wemby had a hell of a year last year, and they won 22 games.
Because I don't think they had the leadership. And I think if all your leadership is Pop, there's only but so far you can get if Pop is your only leadership.
I don't know. That I would be extremely shocked if they were top 6.
They're a sleeper, maybe a play-in team.
I fully could see them being a play-in team. I mean, I don't think that's anywhere out of the realm. Getting 15 more wins even 20, but 42-40 isn't getting you top 6 in the West. And I think 42-40 might be their ceiling. Like, Chris Paul takes a lot of teams to the playoffs. Like you said, every team he's played on, except for that last Golden State team, at some point they went to the playoffs. Obviously, the first few years in New Orleans, they didn't, but eventually that team got there. But this man is 39. I don't know if Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul are enough to get them above a 42-40 hump. Even with Wemby taking that next step, yeah, as great as it's going to be, we know it's going to be great. But I don't know if the talent is there overall to compete with the, OKCs of the world, the Sacramentos of the world, the Phoenixes. I've already named three. I've already named 3 teams.
I think I can put them right there with Sacramento. I really do.
Last week we just said Sacramento is arguably top 3 in the West. So like they dropped 3 immediately?
No, they didn't drop for me. I'm saying talent wise, I think the Spurs have the same amount of talent that the Kings do. So I think however good you think the Kings really, because I don't think the Kings have one player that's better than Wembanyama.
No, but even if that's the case, they still have everyone else.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like,
okay, so if you go down their list, right? Mm-hmm. DeMar DeRozan obviously better than Harrison Barnes, so that's one, right? Fox. You take Fox over Chris Paul, but that's only in age. That's only in age, right? So we're only saying that in age, not in talent, in age, because I still think Chris Paul is a better overall player than De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, as it stands today, De'Aaron Fox is going to give you more wins than Chris Paul is.
100%. Yes, 100%.
And so, that's all.
I give you no, but I'm saying I give you Fox, but I'm saying that's why, because we're talking about what he can do today, right?
Yes.
Not that he's a better player. That's what I was trying to establish.
Career-wise, it's too early for Fox. You never know what he's going to do for the rest of his career. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's 2 players right now: DeRozan and in Fox. Sabonis, I'm not taking over Wembanyama.
I'm not taking anybody over Wembanyama. I'm saying all those 3 would be the next 3 on their own Wembanyama.
Malik Monk is better than anybody else on their team.
I like
Murray is better than anybody else on their team.
I think Devin, Murray, yes. I'm very high on Murray. But I do think Devin and Jeremy can have big steps this year. And I love Keldon Johnson coming off the bench. I really do. I love Keldon Johnson.
Last year. But unfortunately,
again, I know. I don't want to base it off of last year because guys can either have a tremendous step forward or a drastic step back. The year before is usually only somewhat of a guide. But to me, I can't put too much stress on that because we've seen teams go from 1st to 8th. So I'm going off of what I project them to be able to do. And I'm saying I think these guys can have a huge step forward next year. And again, I reduced it to 6 to 8. I get that you thought 5 was crazy. I said 6 to 8. 6 to 8. So whoever you have at 8, I don't think you could say are leaps and bounds.
No, I'm saying there are easily 6 teams that are better than them.
That's fair. I won't argue that. I feel how I feel, but I won't argue you on the West got so much better. But I'm now making the point of I said 6 between 6 and 8. So if you want to take 6 out, 7 or 8.
Well, I said lottery. I said lottery is their top. 42-40 will get you. I'm not lottery. I'm sorry. Play it.
I was about to say, wait a minute, Didge.
Right out the playoffs. Not even the play-in.
Play-in is for sure. But if you're talking 6, let me look at what last year 6 got you in the West. What record last year 6 was in the West. I get you're saying that, last year in the West was 49-33 was 6.
Mm-hmm.
5.
So that would be a 27 win, improvement. I'm almost positive that is a record. And this team ain't record breaking.
Never know, buddy. Never know.
This team not record breaking.
I just counted out 8 teams that might be better. So it's like, that's tough.
That's what I'm saying. They're not sitting with an OKC. They're not sitting with the Denver. They're not sitting with the Memphis. Clippers, maybe. They're not sitting with the Dallas. They're not sitting with the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already 5.
There.
That's 5.
That's 5.
Minnesota.
Okay.
Minnesota. No, I said Minnesota. They're not sitting with Sacramento. There's your 6.
Okay. Now what's 7 and 8?
You were just very high. Well, I said 7 to 10 because that's gonna be your play in. But you were just very high on New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at 7. Memphis is probably going to take a step up. That puts you at 8.
Can't take on the Lakers.
You can't.
And now, my biggest question to you is Lakers, Clippers, Memphis, and what's the team you just Pelicans. You're telling me they can't be in that mix?
Well, that would put them. That would put them firmly back into play-in.
That's fine. Again, that's fine. I'm just saying. Let me just get you on record. Do you believe the Spurs can make the playoffs? No matter how they get in, can they make the playoffs?
I think 42 and 40 is their top.
Do you think they can make the playoffs, Didge? It's the question.
No.
Okay. Joel, do you think they can make the playoffs?
I did until I looked at the rest of this conference.
That's what I'm saying.
Then that's where we differ, because I can tell you right now, if the Lakers are around 7 or 8, it means in the Spurs are in that conversation. I think it shows you the downfall of the LeBron era, right? And that they're susceptible to being bounced out to the Spurs.
The Lakers won 47 games last year. That's still 25 more than this team won.
Yes, and I think this team with Chris Paul and Harrison
is going
Barnes,
to get a 25 win.
Yep,
that's insane.
Yep,
I was trying to find the record.
Yep, I do think they can. Sure do.
Let me see. Win improvement record NBA.
I mean, the best improvement I know of, I think of my own team. I know Melo and them were an 8th seed, and then he took them to the 2nd seed.
No. It's the Celtics. They won 42 more than from one year to the next.
God damn, when?
07, 08.
God. Oh, yes. Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rondo. Yeah, makes sense.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, sounds about right. Motherfuckers adapted a big 4 and then got mad LeBron went and created a big 3. Bitch, I just watched you do it. That's how I knew to do it. Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, no, I think the Spurs can do it. I don't. Nope. Look, no problem. I don't have any facts to argue you on. So I relent to you. I'm just saying I think they have a chance to be in that play-in opportunity to beat out a team to get into the playoffs. And then I said I would not be shocked if they were around 6, 7, or 8. I took 5 out. 5's crazy.
6 is crazy. 6 means they're not in the play-in. And this team's ceiling is play-in.
We'll see.
They might not even make that, if we're being honest. I think they could, but there's a good chance they might not.
We'll see. The bottom dwellers, I think they're better than that.
We'll see.
We will.
Better than Utah, better than Portland.
That puts them at what, 10? Like,
yeah, that's not saying much. Those teams ought to be tanking.
Are they better than Golden State?
I think they're as good as Golden State. I think you could point out as many holes in Golden State as you can in San Antonio.
Are they as good as the Clippers?
Again, I think the Clippers live and breathe off of whether Kawhi lives and breathes. So, yeah, 100%. We don't rely on Kawhi to play all season back-to-back years or majority of the season.
Better than the Rockets? Are they better than the Rockets?
I think you can make an argument they're possibly as good as the Rockets can be. Because the Rockets more – here's my biggest problem. Who is your best player on the Rockets?
Technically Green. Should be.
Right.
Should be. But
do you believe Green will have a better jump from last year to this year than Wembanyama?
To me, it should be Sengun. But yeah, no, don't.
Then that's my bigger issue. If Wembanyama has a bigger step, I think that equates to more wins.
Then are they better? Because they're not. That's it. Those are the only teams that I would say they're better than already. So then do you see they're better than the Lakers, or are they better than the Grizzlies or Pelicans? Like that's the next level.
Again, this team, out of some of these teams you're naming, don't have the holes that those other teams do. I told you my big issue with the Pelicans is health. My big issue with Lakers is health. My big issue with Clippers is health. My big issue with Grizzlies is health. That's 4 teams right there that have health problems.
I'm not disagreeing.
That if at any point they kick in the season, and again, that's any team, yes, I know. But I'm talking about them specifically having injury-prone players. Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Ja Morant, right? Zion Williamson. They all are injury-prone guys. Spurs just don't have that issue. So health has been on their side.
Outside of Wemby, I don't know if they have talent. Like, outside
of who? Say it. I'm sorry, y'all both said it at the same time.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Joel.
I said Chris Paul's 39. There's a chance he could get hurt.
He is. No, he very much is. But again, I kept saying I thought he was a phenomenal addition, but I kept saying I think Wembanyama takes that next step that equates to wins. I'm not putting this on the shoulder of Chris Paul. I think Wembanyama takes the next step that equates to more games.
Yeah.
Right, but I think a lot of that was just like also he was reduced from starting to the bench, and then it was just Golden State was a mess last year for a lot of reasons. Right, then he got hurt.
No, he also got hurt.
Right, but again, I put this on the shoulders of Victor. I'm not putting this on the shoulders of Chris. I think Chris will give more to Victor as a mentor than he necessarily has to give physically being on the court. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm saying I have less questions about San Antonio than I do those 4 teams you gave.
We're going by just upside. I mean, Wembanyama has bigger upside than anybody in the West.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know if the rest of this team does.
Man's a fucking freak.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the biggest upside.
I mean,
I'd say it's a 3-way tie.
Between
Luka, Victor, and Edwards.
I mean, that to me, the other two are already there, more or less.
No.
Wembanyama's still coming.
No. You don't make that next jump till you make that next jump and win a champion. That's your next jump. First jump is making the All-Star. Next is becoming a champion. Because we've always looked at Jason Tatum as being borderline superstar, right? The only thing to validate him was you needed to win that championship. He went and got it.
So you can't be a superstar if you don't want to title. What are you saying?
You said what? No. I'm saying that's the next level. I think once you're a superstar, the next level then is winning a championship. I'm not saying that you're lesser than. No. I'm just saying that's why I'm saying the most upside. I think Victor, we can already look at as a star, right? Victor, I think, is a star. I think he now has become a superstar. Well, now once you're a superstar, become a champion.
Now he has to make the All-Star team. After that, it's like
yes, make the All-Star team, yes, but sure, yes.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Team has. I'm assuming if you make the All-Star team, it's because your team is good. That should be part of it. Now that's not always the case, but that's usually part of it.
Yeah. Yep. That's all I got. I'm just a little higher on them than you guys are, and that's no problem.
But
that
I just means more so happy. I like the team, like I really do. I spoke glowingly of them until you said they were top 6, top 5 team. And then I was like a little, maybe not so much. I'm more in the middle. I do believe they're like they could easily sneak in, especially one of those teams that you say are injury prone. Get hurt.
That was 4 teams that you guys thought were legit playoff teams. So that's what I'm saying.
The only teams that I'm talking about are like New Orleans, Memphis,
Lakers, Clippers.
Yeah. Those are the top, or Golden State even. Like those teams.
That's 5, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, there's holes in each and every one of those teams that we named.
Absolutely. No one's perfect, especially those teams.
Right. So I view it more so each and every one of those teams you named are looking to be impacted by a sole individual, right? It's a team game, but you need LeBron to be LeBron. You need Morant to be Morant. You need Curry to be Curry and Kawhi to be Kawhi. There are all question marks for those guys. Yeah. No, but I'm saying there's a bigger question mark for those guys due to age outside of Morant, obviously. So I view Morant and Wemby as the easier ones to rely on, even though Morant is less injury prone and more gun happy. to be the ones that I can bet on them more so than I can an older LeBron, an older Curry, an older Kawhi. You know what I'm saying? That all have injury issues coming into it on top of being.
And we hope that Wemby could stay healthy. He's 7'4", you know. I mean,
he did great last year.
Again, that was 1 year.
That's all I can go by. But he did great. He did great.
Yeah. He was weirdly enough healthy all year. So good for him.
All right. And I got a breaking story for you guys, not basketball wise, when we get off air. That's crazy.
Okay. Well, that's it basically. We had our fun. Southwest. This is the end of that. We'll probably get into. We'll be entering the Eastern Conference next week. I think I've been doing it counterclockwise. So we're going to do Southeast. We're going to be doing the Southeast next week. So I might. Well, we'll see. We'll get to that. You know, we have some teams to talk about in South Beach.
Damn.
You know, Atlanta. You know, there's a lot of teams down that way. I look forward to entering the Eastern Conference. We'll get closer to our own teams.
I'm gonna take a week off the week. Y'all got to talk to Knicks. I ain't trying to be here for that.
Oh, stop it!
Sorry, we'll call Brian.
That's perfect.
We'll have an all Nick party.
That's perfect.
That's more than fine.
Assemble the Knicks Avengers.
Yeah, it's gonna be just we're not even gonna talk about the rest of the team.
Right? They won't even matter. It's just how much better are our Knicks? Welcome to Knicks and 6. That's what it'll be, Joel.
That's it. Knicks and 6. We gotta change the name, title of the show, and everything.
Well, DJV, Didge does not know how to process that he's a New Yorker now, and he's a Knicks fan. He doesn't know how to process that.
Once he bought that Vader, that's it. He bought his New York card right there.
Yeah.
When I bought the Vader, that's crazy.
You're a Knicks
It was
now.
hidden inside of there.
Anakin was a Knicks fan. We all know that.
Oh,
all right, wrap us up, Joel.
Yeah, but that was it. Yeah, next week, Eastern Conference, starting Southeast, and then we'll go from there. Anyway, this was fun. Did you want to plug anything before we left?
No, you can follow me at Didge_DEE in all places. I'm playing Diablo 4 on Twitch, so catch me on Twitch playing that. There's no underscore in that Didge D. It's just Didge D altogether. I couldn't get the underscore there for some reason.
I'm glad you're finally getting to it, Didge.
Yeah, I'm further along than I thought I would be. I'm hoping to beat it by the time the DLC comes out, but I think it's sad for that. So we're gonna play it at my own pace. I'm gonna do my own thing.
I thought I'd be done with this game before the game DLC. Fucking monkey, man, it's hard. It's fucking hard.
I know. I still got to get to that. That might be the next game. Or Plucky Squire. I don't know quite what my next game is gonna be, but yeah, check me out on Twitch. You know, we playing games.
All right, and yeah, we at Unhealthy and Unstable will try to do a little bit more on Twitch on our end. Our weeks just kind of get really clogged. So we'll try to carve out some space to game for you guys. I know there was some bit of a response to this when we were doing Fortnite, so we'll get back to it, guys. Wukong on my ass, these damn bosses.
Bro. There's so many fucking bosses, dog. What's up with that, yo? Like,
but I saw Kai crash out because one of the bosses died, and Kai was like, "Yeah, I told you I'm that dude," and then the boss got back up. Yeah. I said, "Nah, fuck that.
Sometimes there are bosses that have another level after. I'm like, bro, I just fucking almost died killing this one. Like,
yeah, Kai said, "Nah, fuck that. I'm out. I'm done. I'm done." All right, enough talking about it because it'll make Trayvon not want to play it. This game is great, super easy, awesome. Trayvon.
It's fun. It's cool looking. I have a lot of fun with it.
Didge, by the way, before we go, I want to tell you we don't appreciate the trauma you put on Trayvon. Okay, you made him get Elden Ring, and now he's fearful for any game that's not the games he's accustomed to. He fears everything because of you, Didge.
Oh, that's not my fault.
That is your fault because he said you didn't prepare him properly. Okay, he said you set him up.
I tell everyone Elden Ring is difficult, but I have a great time.
That man said, I was wanting a refund almost immediately. Like, this shit is so hard.
It is. It's a very difficult game. It's a great time.
Let Didge play you, dog. You let Didge play you, man. And then he said this game is non-refundable because I bought it digitally. I said that's even worse.
That's
my god.
That's terrible. I feel bad for him.
So anyone looking for gaming recommendations, call Didge. Follow Didge at Didge_.
Look, we play some difficult games, but that's how you get better.
See, look, see, DJV knows. Can't trust him, man.
I ain't know I was around people who like to take the easy way out. It's crazy.
You goddamn right. I'm a cheat code baby. All right.
I see.
But all right, guys. I want to thank Joel for hosting another great episode of 6 and 6. That's what I'm
6 and 6 NBA preview.
I'm gonna leave it at that because I almost forgot what it was called.
Yeah. Divisions in 6 weeks. That's what it is.
Yes, thank you. That's what it is. Long titles I can't do. Yeah, Didge, we're trying to win. All right, we ain't trying to stress out to win. All right,
I still win.
No, we want the easier way. But all right, guys, stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll be breaking down Agatha. We'll be breaking down the new Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler movie, Sinners, Penguin, and so much more. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. But until then, guys, peace.